Yes, when you start to think about upsets in sports, okay, the definition of an upset is when the team that is projected to win or that should win, they don't prepare to win. And a lot of times when you start to look at these type of series, they're traps. And they're traps because from a player standpoint, from a coaching standpoint, a manager standpoint, you know that your roster is better. But at the same time, the preparation cannot waver. You have to go out and you have to do it. That's why the games are played on the field. And a lot of times you will allow a team to gain confidence, let's just say in game one of the series. And it could be within the first 3 innings where they're coming in and saying, this team is better than us and we're probably not going to win this series. But the longer you let them hang around, it's like a lightweight that's fighting a heavyweight. The longer you let them hang around, they end up landing a lucky punch, and then now you find yourself into a dogfight. And I think that's what happened with the Blue Jays. They were not prepared for the Angels. They looked at the schedule and said, okay, we just came off this tough series against the Yankees and the Red Sox. We can take a deep breath. We have the Angels coming in, and all of a sudden, they find themselves swept.
When you were playing in the end of August, dog days of summer into September, you were out of it. Did you relish the opportunity to play teams who were trying to get in the postseason?
I've been in that position, and it's actually a lot of it's motivating when you go into the stadium and you know that these guys are fighting for a spot, and you just want to knock them down. We're professionals. We take pride. Even if our record doesn't say that we're having a great season, we want at the very least play well today, play well tonight. And as a team, you should never, ever, I'm not saying that the Blue Jays did this, however, you can never take another team lightly. This is the big leagues. At any given moment, I'm going to go even further. At any given moment, the Bad News Bears could beat you if you do not prepare. So do not take things lightly. And right here, the Blue Jays kind of let their guard down slightly, and here they got taken advantage of.
And Bo, explain why, teams that aren't headed to the postseason, especially young teams, are dangerous for teams who are competing for a postseason spot.
Well, when you start to think about those teams that are competing for playoff spots, you're better off playing those teams because those young teams, the manager is trying to figure out, okay, what do we have for next year? So he's managing totally different than a manager who's going to go with the guys that have gotten them to that point. I remember in 2017, I was with the Braves, and the Detroit Tigers come in, and they needed to win 2 out of 3 against us to get into the playoffs. Now, at this point, it was at the reset of the Braves, getting these young guys to the big leagues. We're piggybacking starters. We're going through the bullpen. You got, September call-ups. We ran probably 32 or 33 different players at them. We won 2 out of 3, knocked them out of the playoffs. That's dangerous. If you're the Tigers, you would rather have played the team that you were actually chasing and figure out, okay, whoever wins this game gets into the postseason. I want to stay clear away from teams with nothing to lose.
Now, what's that mentality? Because I'll tell you exactly what happens. You go into the field that day, you have nothing to lose. If you are that team that's playing spoiler, you get there, you're like, we get nothing to lose and everything to gain. The other team on the other side has everything to lose, okay? That dynamic right there, you have to be very careful with. As a matter of fact, if I'm on the winning side, right, I'm the team that's on top, I have to double down on my preparation against those teams that may not be playing good baseball, because you know how baseball works out. Those are the guys. We've seen it happen over and over in history, where those teams are the ones that knock you out of a playoff contention. You can go back to April and count that first loss you have. That's that loss you had, that perhaps you bobbled that ball, you didn't run the bases correctly. That's the win you're going to need in September in order to sneak into the postseason. These losses here to the Blue Jays could cost them dearly later on.
And you're talking about a Blue Jays team that missed the playoff by 1 game last year.
That's right.
So they've been there and done it.
That hurts.
So they should be more so on their P's and Q's because of that.
And we're looking at the Padres here and the Royals. Royals put up a 15th spot on San Diego over the weekend. And to your point, too, with the young teams and the young players, there's just not as big a book on the young players. So they're more unpredictable. You don't know what they're going to do. You don't know what their tendencies are, which makes it a little bit more difficult to deal with these young teams, especially in September when you're trying to see if you can get in the postseason. Now, we just put up a list of how teams have done against teams with records below 500. So now we're going to do this. And again, I say this every time we put this up. And we put it up because it is something that people pay attention to. You just have to be careful with, quote unquote, the easiest remaining schedules for everything that we just spoke about here. Having said that, Bo, if you're a good team, you're supposed to beat the teams with records below 500.
Yes, when I look at this easiest remaining schedule, it's two teams that jump out to me that I believe is going to take full advantage of this: the Houston Astros and the Cleveland Guardians. And I say that just because when you look at their team, the Astros, they don't care who the opponent is. They're going to come out. Dusty has them boys locked and loaded. When they come out, they're coming out to beat whoever the opponent is. Same thing with the Cleveland Guardians. This is the time of year where the standard in which you have set for your ball club will win out.
It's the same concept as when you got teams in spring training. And I remember Joe Madden, when I was with the Rays, specifically that year that we went to the World Series, he said, we're going to win spring training. We do not take anything lightly. Spring training, every single game we're going to go out there, we're going to go hard. Well, pretty much, here they are. It doesn't matter what that column says and winning percentage. You have to, if anything, double down on these teams that look like they're the lesser, less worthy opponent. And you better crush your teeth and dot your I's, because you might find yourself on the losing end of that bargain.
All right, so look at the National League teams with the quote-unquote easiest remaining schedules. So Cardinals, Mets, and Braves, they're all three of those guys, and the Brewers, they're obviously competing for postseason spots. So we'll see how it shakes out. See if we have any teams chase other teams down here as we head to the month of October.